Now today's topic of the lecture is Poisson's ratio. When a wire is stretched, okay, its length increases. But since its length is increasing, its diameter decreases. Now, in general, when an elongation is produced by longitudinal stress in a certain direction, a contraction results in the lateral direction of the body which is under strain. Okay, as you can see in this diagram, okay, we have considered this wire as a cylindrical object. Okay, so when it is stretched, its length is increasing, but its diameter is decreasing. It is contracting laterally, but it is elongating longitudinally. Getting it? So the lateral strain is proportional to the longitudinal strain so long as it is very small. And the ratio of this lateral strain to the longitudinal strain is called as Poisson's ratio, which is denoted by symbol sigma. Now here we have to suppose a wire of length capital L, okay, as you can see in this diagram. This is the wire which is having the length of capital L and its diameter is capital D, which is suspended from a rigid support as shown in the figure. Now we apply some force at its free end to produce extension by amount say delta L. Now at the same time there is a corresponding decrease in the diameter say by delta D. Okay, so what is happening? This wire is suspended from a rigid support, okay, and certain amount of force is applied on its free end. So due to this applied force, the length of the wire gets increased by a small amount which is equals to delta L, and as the length is increasing, the diameter of the wire gets decreased or shrinked by a small amount say delta D. Now therefore the lateral strain, okay, can be given as a change in diameter upon original diameter. Okay, strain is what we have seen the definition of strain earlier in the earlier lectures as well. Okay, so it is change in dimension upon original dimension. Now here we are talking about lateral strain. So what is lateral strain? It is change in diameter divided by original diameter. So what is change in diameter is delta D upon original diameter is capital D. And the longitudinal strain is change in length upon original length. So change in length is delta L upon original length is capital L. So hence from the definition of Poisson's ratio, that is lateral strain by longitudinal strain, we can write down Poisson's ratio sigma is equals to lateral strain, which is equals to delta D upon capital D divided by longitudinal strain, which is delta L upon capital L. So by rearranging the terms, we get sigma, that is Poisson's ratio, is equals to L into delta D divided by capital D into delta L. Now it is a pure ratio and it has no unit, and its dimension, it is a dimensionless quantity. The value of Poisson's ratio depends upon the nature of material. Now when a body under strain, when the body under tension suffers no change in the volume, the body is said to be incompressible. Okay, and the value of Poisson's ratio is maximum for that, that is half. Okay, so when body under tension suffers no change in a volume, the body is said to be incompressible, and the value of Poisson's ratio sigma is maximum, that is equals to half. And it can be shown by a derivation that we are going to see now. For that, let us assume that we have to assume that V be the volume of wire, capital V be the volume of wire. So hence V is equals to pi r square into L, okay, which is the volume of a cylinder, where r, small r, is the radius of wire and capital L is the length of wire. The change in volume due to the applied force is obtained by differentiating this equation, that is equation number I will write down as a 3. Okay, so therefore by differentiating this equation we get dV is equals to pi r square dl plus 2l 2r dr. Now if there is no change in volume, then dV will be equals to 0. So this whole term, that is pi r square dl plus 2 pi capital L r dr is equals to 0. So from this we can write down r dl is equals to minus 2l dr. Therefore from this equation we can write down minus dr by r upon dl by capital L is equals to half. But we know that dr by r upon dl by capital L is equals to sigma, which is Poisson's ratio. So therefore from this equation we can write down sigma is equals to half. Okay, what is dr by r upon dl by L? It is shearing strain upon shearing longitudinal strain, okay, which is equals to sigma, that is Poisson's ratio. So from this equation we can write down Poisson's ratio sigma is equals to half. But theoretically the limiting values of sigma are -1 and 0.5, though in actual practice it lies between 0.2 and 0.4 for most of the material. Okay, the limiting values of sigma range from -1 to 0.5. Okay, but practically it lies between 0.2 to 0.4, the value of sigma for all types of most of the materials which are present. So this is the derivation, small derivation for Poisson's ratio, okay, which we have defined as the ratio of lateral strain to the longitudinal strain. Hello all. So now in today's lecture we are going to see the relation between the three elastic moduli, that is Young's modulus, bulk modulus and modulus of rigidity, that is shearing modulus. Now for that, that is y, eta and k. For that we have to consider a cube of a homogeneous isotropic material which is having each side of a unit length. Okay, so each side of this cube is having a unit length. The isotropic material has same elastic properties in all directions, and the area of any face is unity, and the volume of the cube is also unity. Okay, it is having a unit length, so area of each side is 1 and volume of the cube is also equals to 1. Now suppose the cube is pulled by the forces F1 in the x direction, F2 in y direction and F3 in z direction, okay, which are acting normally to each face, which as you can see in this figure. Now each force will produce elongation in its own direction and compression or a contraction in the directions which are perpendicular to it. So we now we know that Young's modulus y is equals to stress by strain by strain. What is stress? Stress is force per unit area. Now area is equals to 1 divided by strain, so which is equals to F by strain. So from this equation we can write down longitudinal strain is equals to force divided by Young's modulus y. Again we have seen in the last lecture Poisson's ratio sigma is equals to lateral strain upon longitudinal strain. So we can write down from this, if you substitute for the longitudinal strain, it will become lateral strain upon force divided by y, that is Young's modulus. So from this we can find out the lateral compressional strain. So lateral compressional strain will be equal to sigma into force divided by y, that is Young's modulus, which is equals to sigma f by y. This we will note down as equation number 1. Now if you assume that the F2 and F3 is equals to 0, okay, these forces which are along y and z direction is equals to 0, then the force F1 which is acting in a x axis, it will produce elongation extension strain along x axis and compression strain which is equals to sigma F1 upon y along y and z axis. Now the lateral strains are equal since the material is isotropic. Similarly, if F1 and F2 is equals to 0, F3 will produce extension strain, that is F3 by y along z axis, and the compression strain sigma F3 by y along x and y axis. Okay, so what we are assuming over here, the first case we assume that F2 is equals to F3 is equals to 0, only F1 is acting along x axis. So due to that the F1 will produce longitudinal extension strain along x axis and lateral compressional strain which is equals to sigma F1 divided by y. Okay, this is along y and z axis. Second case, if you consider F1 equals to F2 equals to 0, F3 is acting along z axis, so longitudinal strain or extension strain of F3 by y will be experienced along z axis, and compressional strain sigma F3 by y will be experienced along x and y axis. Now the elongations and the contractions produced by the different forces acting simultaneously in different directions produce strain as which is tabulated in this table. Okay, note that contraction is regarded as negative elongation. Contraction is negative elongation. That is why you can see negative sign in this table. Okay, so in this table we have tabulated the different strains which are produced, okay, due to the forces which are being applied on this cube surface in the different directions. Now from the above table we can see that the total extension strain along x axis, okay, is equals to F1 by y minus sigma F2 by y minus sigma F3 divided by y. Okay, now total extension strain along x axis. Again, if we consider that F1 is equals to F2 is equals to F3, which is equals to capital F, the total extension strain along x axis can be written as F divided by y into 1 minus 2 sigma. Okay, by simplifying this equation we get this equation. Now using the equation number 1, that is that we have found out for the lateral compression strain, which is sigma F upon y, in equation number 1, we get volume strain will be equal to 3F by y into 1 minus 2 sigma. Equation number 2. Now we know that volume stress is equals to F since area of each face is unity, so we know that K, that is bulk modulus, is equals to volume stress by volume strain. So using equation number 2 and equation number 3, we can write down K is equals to F upon 3F by y 1 minus 2 sigma, so which is equals to y upon 3 1 minus 2 sigma Therefore y upon 3k is equals to 1 minus 2 sigma. Here we got a relation between the two elastic moduli, that is Young's modulus and bulk modulus. Okay, so we will note down, or we will write down this as equation number 4 and this as equation number 5. Now again in the next case, if you we consider that f3 is equals to 0 and f1 stretches the cube along x-axis and f2 compresses along y-axis, the cube is deformed. Now the elongations and the contractions which are produced by forces in a different directions, again we can tabulate it as follows. Now again here, if we consider that f3 is equals to 0 and f1 stretches the cube along x-axis and f2 compresses along y-axis, the cube gets deformed. Now the elongations and the contractions which are produced by forces in the different directions, it is tabulated below. Okay, so in the here we can see that force which is applied, that is f1, f2, f3 along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. We have considered that f3 is equals to 0. Okay, so there is no extension strain along f3 due to f3 is 0. Okay, so here we can see that due to force f1, the extension strain along x-axis will be f1 by y, and along y-axis it will be minus sigma f1 by y, same along the z-axis. Then f2 will have a contraction produced along the x-axis which is equals to sigma f2 by y. It will have extension strain which is equals to minus f2 by y, and again sigma f2 by y along the z-axis. Now suppose that both f1 and f2 are equal. Okay, and we suppose that f1 is equals to f2, then the net extension strain, okay, will be equal to along x-axis net extension strain along x-axis is equals to f1 by y plus sigma f2 by y, which is equals to f by y into 1 plus sigma, since f1 is equals to f2. Now similarly, total strain along y will be equal to minus f1 by y minus sigma f2 by y, which is equals to minus f by y into 1 plus sigma. Now here the compression strain along y-axis is equals to compression strain along y-axis is equals to f by y into 1 plus sigma. Thus the cube experiences extension and contraction of an equal magnitude. Now these are equivalent to a shear which is equal to their sum. Now shearing strain or the angle of a shear, that is theta, is equals to 2f by y into 1 plus sigma, and shearing stress is force per unit area is 1, therefore it is equals to capital F. So now modulus of rigidity eta is equals to what? Shearing stress upon shearing strain. So eta is equals to f upon 2f by y into 1 plus sigma, which is equals to y upon 2 into 1 plus sigma, or we can write down y by 2 eta is equals to 1 plus sigma. Now this we will denote as equation number 6. Therefore sigma is equals to y by 2 eta minus this is y. Equation number 6. Now to eliminate sigma, substituting equation 5 and 6 in equation in equation 4. So we get, substituting equation 7 in equation 5. So we get y by 3k is equals to 1 minus 2 y upon 2 eta minus 1. So y by 3k is equals to 1 minus y by eta plus 2. 3k is equals to 3 minus y by eta. K is equal to 9 minus 3y by eta. Y is equal, y into 1 by k plus 3 by eta is equals to 9. So 1 by k plus 3 by eta is equals to 9 by y.